Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So it's a really fun Booklist Thursday for this week, and Booklist Thursday is something I do with Sarah over at Sarah's Nightstand. We come to you every Thursday with some sort of book thoughts, ideas, recommendations, something bookish related. So today what we did was took advantage of the fact that we have a couple of teenagers in our houses, and so we asked them for recommendations. So these are teen recommendations from actual teens. And I'm going to say, I had what I thought in my mind might be some recs from my girls, and I was kind of surprised that I was wholeheartedly wrong. Absolutely. So a couple of them are actually more middle grade, but both, I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and both of them, they kind of surprised me with what they picked. So let's get into my selection here. So the first grouping is from my oldest, who's 15. The one she came up with absolutely immediately is Refugee. This is by Anna Gratz. This is to me more middle grade, but she said this one absolutely stuck with her. She has thought about it and continues to think about it, and I'm like, hey, that's a book everybody should be reading then. This follows three different characters. We have Joseph is a Jewish boy in 1930s in Nazi-occupied Germany. Isabel is a Cuban girl in the 1990s. And then Mahmoud is a Syrian boy in 2015. All three of them are attempting to flee the horrible conditions that their current home and home country is under and trying to get themselves to safety. So there are three different refugees at very similar ages, I want to say, as they're going through this, and it follows each of them through the worst time in their lives, basically. And you have their viewpoints as children going through this. So she recommended this. I also recommend this. I love this book. It's so good. Anything by Anna Gratz will make you absolutely think, and I love it. So recommendation number one. Second recommendation from my 15-year-old, there is a little series by Kwame Alexander. The first one is The Crossover. We have Rebound, and we have Booked. These are very sports-centric books, and they're written in verse. And they follow three different characters as they are facing some hardships, they're facing some pressure, they're facing how to navigate being a kid, but yet being in this world of sports, and potentially making some not great decisions and having to deal with the consequences. So she really enjoyed this. I found it interesting as I was paging through that she actually has, where is it? She had a couple of sticky notes on a few. Yeah, here's one. So it's just interesting to see where she had put her, I guess, her own way of annotating in them. And so I was reading, I'm like, okay, that's just interesting. And it creates a really interesting dialogue. Now, take this with a grain of salt. My kids, especially my older one, is very much into sports. She's very much an athlete at this point, so can definitely resonate with this, that maybe not every teen or every middle grader would resonate with this. But if it happens to fall in your realm within your interest of your children, I definitely would recommend these books. All right, so then we're going to get to the book that both of my kids, again, 15 and 13, both recommend this book. This one is a bit of a harder read, but led to some really, really great conversations with both of my kids. So this is Where It Ends by Mariki Ninjkamp. I always mess up that name. This is a book about a school shooting from the perspective of a couple of different characters. And it goes through, so we have four perspectives over this span. I was going to say about an hour of the event occurring. And we switch perspectives, and it gives you timestamps and kind of the thought process behind each of these four characters, and what they're experiencing and what they're doing and what is all happening. Again, know your kid. Just like reader know thyself, know your kid and what they're prepared for. We were ready for this. This is not something that we shy away from discussing in our family. And so it was a great way to kind of talk about that subject again. And both of my kids, like I said, really, really enjoyed this one. So then we get to my 13-year-old, who is definitely following in my footsteps and loving the mystery, suspenseful, murdery scene within books. So her number one recommendation, and I don't have that first, I don't know where the first book is in the series, but it's The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is by Holly Jackson. This is actually the last one, and I need to read this myself, and it's floppy and I love it. But it follows Pip as she's investigating a bit of a situation that happens at the new school she ends up going to. Again, she loved it. She enjoyed it. She's read every single one except for this last one, I believe, is her last one she's got to go to. But likes that it's enough to give her that mystery thrillerish that she's looking for, but not too gruesome, not too gory, not too, still appropriate for her age. So she would recommend that one. She also wholeheartedly recommends anything by Natasha Preston. This one specifically is The Fear. I have read a few of hers. I read The Lake, and I think there's another one that I read by her. Again, appropriate for like a young adult-ish audience. Again, I'm fine with my 13-year-old reading this. It brings up good conversations. We have good book talk about it. And they definitely have that mystery, thrillery, suspenseful vibe to them, but without being too over the top or too, inappropriate for that age. So The Fear specifically talks about, it says, don't be afraid, be terrified. There's a meme going around a small fishing town in the dead of winter. People are reposting and sharing their biggest fear, kind of a trend. But when her classmates start turning up dead, dying in the way that they said scared them the most, Izzy knows it's no joke. In each death hitting closer to home, Izzy sets out to stop the killer. Could her older sister's friend be involved? Giving her strange vibes, and she tries to become into this detective space and solve this. Again, there's definitely themes in here, but it's not over the top in my opinion. Again, I read some crazy stuff. These are pretty light. If you're okay with your child reading that, these I would recommend. Natasha Preston does a great job, as well as the Holly Jackson series does a great job. Honorable mention I'm going to throw in, because neither one of them brought it up, but I'm going to anyways, is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Again, told in verse. It deals with grief. So we have Will, and his older brother Sean has been shot. He feels the sadness so great he can't explain it, but there's rules in his neighborhood. And he gets on an elevator. There's 7 floors, 60 seconds on the elevator, 3 rules, and 1 gun. And it's written so beautifully and so great and so wonderful. This is going to be my added recommendation. This is what I'm trying to get my children to read. I'm working on it, but this one is a really great rec as well. So those are the books, my teen recommendations from my teens, to add to any little last minute summer book list you might want to try to get your kids to read before we go back to school. I'll leave links for all of them below. Otherwise, head over to Sarah's channel, see what her kids came up with for this week. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.